From the Point Podcast. I am Thomas Modesto, and I'm here, and I'm really glad to say this, with everybody today. I got Sean, Alex, and Tristan here with me today. It's been, I think, since episode 2, since everybody is finally here. And so let's go around the horn a bit. Sean, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. I'm excited to see when the schedule and everything comes out for the next NHL season. Potentially things could get a little wacky, and I'm
hmm
excited to see how things play out.
Alex, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm happy actually to be here with the whole squad. It's
Yes.
we've
Yes.
been missing everybody lately.
hmm
It's so much
hmm
more fun talking hockey with the rest of the boys. So excited to get down into the divisions.
Yeah, I'm excited for the two. Tristan, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. It's been a while since I've been here, so I'm really happy to be back and talk a little bit of hockey with the boys.
Yes, it's nice. The boys are together again, and we get to
Boys are
talk.
back in town.
Yeah, the boys get to talk hockey again together. It's going to be a fun one. And for today, we are starting, and it's got a bit of an asterisk. Pardon me. Uh, but we are starting our division predictions, and we're starting with the Metropolitan Division today. And the asterisk I have to mention is, as we all know, there is still ongoing talks about division realignment. And so, the Met especially can change, and we don't know when exactly that's going to come. So far, the league is still sticking with their January 1st date to start the season. But sooner rather than later, these divisions will be realigned and reorganized, and we'll figure out what teams will be playing who. But for now, this is what we have, and so we're gonna start off with the Metropolitan Division, and we're gonna go bottom to top. And the reason why we're doing that is to start it off, I'm pretty sure we all know who is going to be finishing in eighth place this year in what would be the
Yes,
Metropolitan
thanks.
Division. Yeah. And for me, and I'll just start the get the ball rolling here. I have the New Jersey Devils finishing in eighth place. What about y'all?
I mean, if I can just start off by saying that I don't think this team has really anything exciting to bring to the table. You have Jack Hughes, who I understand he's young, he's exciting, but really kind of disappointing in his rookie season. I know a lot of people were hyped over Hughes, but he really didn't bring much to his rookie season. Um, Overall, with this team, I'm very worried about their goaltending. I think, Tommy, you said earlier today that it was Mackenzie Blackwood that's going to
Mackenzie
be taking
Blackwood
over
and Corey
between the
Crawford
pipes.
are going to
I
be
mean,
between the pipes.
Corey
It's not
Crawford,
much.
he'll always have a small place in my heart, but I there's just nothing special about him anymore. There's nothing special about Mackenzie Blackwood. This team just scares me from forwards to goaltending, even defense. There's just nothing exciting about this team whatsoever. I mean, I could even say that this team might be one of the worst team, if not the worst team in the NHL.
It's
I
in the
just don't,
running. It's in the running,
not a
yes.
fan.
No, no. Sean, what do you think? Who is eighth place for you?
Um, this is hard, man. I mean, the Rangers
Mm-hmm.
are pretty. No, I'm kidding. It's
Ah,
going to be the
yeah.
Devils. But I joke, but yeah, Newark is a pretty terrible place to play hockey. They've got really cool reverse retro jerseys, so that's something
That
exciting
is
for them.
true.
But
That is
in
true.
all serious, I mean, especially around Christmas times, but too bad they won't be playing around Christmas time. Um, so, in all seriousness, yeah, I mean, pretty much going off what Alex says, they have a lot of youth on the squad. I mean, they've been rebuilding for God knows how long now. I mean, eventually things have to start clicking. But if you don't have a solid goaltender, you're not going to be doing anything in the playoffs for sure, but really not much in the regular season either, because it doesn't matter how many pucks you put in the back of your opponent's net if you don't have anybody to stop pucks in your net. So, I mean, honestly, I think, yeah, it's going to be the Devils, and I think it's going to be by a pretty wide margin that they finish last in the Metropolitan Division. The Mets just getting better and better. Again, we said at the top of the show, we don't know how things are going to play out in terms of realignment. I mean, there's been some reports that some Atlantic teams go in, some Metro teams leave, but regardless, I think that it's going to still be the Devils, regardless of who's in the division. They're going to finish dead last. I don't think it's really going to be a difference as to who's at the bottom of the division. I am going to say, healthfully, the New Jersey Devils.
Helpfully, Tristan, do you agree with everybody else? Is this a consensus
Well, I
pick
have
of the New
a
Jersey
wild
Devils?
hot take. And,
Oh.
Let's go.
No, it's the Junior. It's the Junior.
Okay, I see.
You gotta.
The Capitals are finishing last.
I got really excited for a second because I love my hot takes.
Oh,
I would honestly
yes.
have left the show if Tristan turned his back on Washington D.C.
No, the Devils are just so bad, man. I mean, like I have here, so I think the additions to the team speak. So like all of their noteworthy additions I have, at least that I've marked down, are Corey Crawford, Dmitry Kulikov, Andres Janssen, Ryan Murray, and then I added their draft pick Alexander Holtz because it's possible that he makes the roster.
Can we just say? Can I just ask? Like, I understand you said noteworthy additions, but are any
There's
of those guys
nothing
like,
noteworthy
actually
about
noteworthy?
that. No, those.
Like Ryan Murray used to be
I
pretty
mean, if
good.
we're getting weird, then it's like, hey, well, Corey Crawford adds championship experience to a club with a bunch of youth, but that doesn't matter in a team that's not close.
Because they're not going to the championship.
Well,
It
you
doesn't
see,
matter.
it's pretty important for the long term, though, because
Yes,
you
absolutely.
want someone
Oh, absolutely.
who can actually
100%.
show these guys what they need to be doing off the ice to actually, help their game on the ice too.
Absolutely.
No,
No,
I
and I agree.
completely
It's just like I don't think he makes the immediate impact.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely
like,
not.
yeah. So, like, I don't think he's going to fulfill. And again, I'm sorry, I'm a Capitals fan. I will always be biased and bring up Caps references here. But like, he won't be a Brooks Orpik or like a veteran presence to a team that's close, just not. They can't get over the hump because they haven't even gotten on the road to contention yet. But you make a very good point that
He's just there to help
he's going to
rebuild.
at least lay the foundation of what the culture should be like there.
It's different for
Corey
goalies too.
Crawford
It's
bashing?
different for goalies too.
This Corey Crawford bashing is hurting my heart. I'm not gonna lie.
Just wait till we
I
get
think,
to the
honestly,
Capitals
I mean,
with Henrik Lundqvist.
Yeah, the thing is like, I mean, I wouldn't even say we're bashing him. Like, I honestly think Corey Crawford can be
Oh, I am.
serviceable. I think he can be serviceable. I don't think he's going to be good, but I think he can be serviceable for what the team needs him to do. And truth be told, the team might need him to tank this year, which Corey Crawford, I'm sure, is going to be able to do very well.
He might do that naturally, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like,
See, like,
I
stuff
take a
like
look.
that.
I take a look at their losses, and I think their losses tell me more than their gains. Because the biggest, and I mean, I searched far and wide for their losses, and the biggest losses that came out of that team so far are Corey Schneider, Kevin Rooney, Mirko Mueller, and John Hayden. Those are like the biggest names that they've lost so far. Oh, and I think Sami Vatanen. No. Or was Vatanen on the...
Sammy Vatanen was a mid-season last year.
Yeah,
loss.
okay. That's what I... Yeah.
So that
the-
is a pretty big loss. For
Taylor
them.
Yeah.
Hall? Question mark?
Well, that was yeah. But I mean, like that's those are the guys from at the end of the season. Like it says everything about the New Jersey Devils. So I mean, the biggest factors that I have for them that I wrote down is Corey Crawford. Can he get a couple extra wins for
Just
Jersey?
Corey Crawford, question mark.
Probably not. But the biggest thing for them this season is just developing the youth. Let the youth play. Let them figure out, how to work themselves on the ice. These guys are, especially the rookies, they're going to figure out how to play with grown men who've been in the league for 10 plus years now. And that's quite the learning curve. So for them, it's clearly not about contending for playoff spots. It is about developing the future of your team.
And if I could say one thing too about the New Jersey Devils, they play in the Metropolitan Division, which obviously, but what we can say about the Metropolitan Division is that there's a lot of teams that do have these big bruisers on their team that kind of play a tough type of play style, and you don't really see any players on the New Jersey Devils like that. They're a relatively small team. John Hayden was a guy that was going to stick up for his teammates, and now he's gone. They had Brian Boyle, now he's gone. So they're just one of those teams where I do see them getting absolutely beat up on the scoreboard, but also literally getting absolutely beat up by these teams. So
Their defense
I think
is
that's
terrible.
a huge.
Their
I think
defense
that's
is
a huge
terrible.
factor. Will Butcher is probably. Would you guys say that that's probably their best defenseman right now?
Yeah, I would say it.
And Will Butcher is relatively small, and I would classify him as more of an offensive style defenseman, who's somebody who's going to put the puck in the net and get assists. So their size.
You're putting Will Butcher over PK Subban?
Yes,
Oh,
the,
you know
the
what?
way PK played last year, 100% yes.
You
PK
know what?
played
And
like garbage last year.
I'm so happy that Tristan said that because that's the type of team that New Jersey is. They're so bad and just so far and away just out of the league right now that I completely forgot that PK Subban was even on the Devils. It's one of those moves that I just completely forgot about. So.
I mean, on top, I would still say Will Butcher is, but I mean, Damon Severson is a pretty dang good defenseman. But Will Butcher and Damon Severson aren't going to carry a bad PK Subban, Ryan Murray, Dmitry Kulikov, and Connor Carrick. Like it's just not gonna happen.
It's like saying Connor Murphy and Calvin DeHaan are going to carry the Blackhawks.
Woo, all stars! Like it's just not gonna happen. So moving away,
has there been a much harder fall from grace than PK Subban has had the past 3 years?
in the past 3 years, I couldn't think of any other ones, to be honest.
Like it's, I mean,
If you give me a sec, maybe I can think of one.
It's like, I mean, it's not necessarily all PK's fault, but it's just kind of nuts how he was widely regarded to be one of the best defensemen in the NHL, and you know,
hell, he has a Norris Trophy.
That's what I'm saying. And so, like, you know, this is a guy who was the face of a franchise, and you know, really doing a lot for his a solid Predators team. And then he gets traded, and it's just, you know.
Well, I think that's the thing. I mean, you take a look at like who was on that Preds team. He played with like Ryan Ellis, Ekholm, the current Norris Trophy winner. Like he had a bunch of guys that were just as good, or maybe just a little bit not as good as him, but they were all like talented guys. On top of that, that's just defensemen. Like the forwards were still really good too. I mean, New Jersey is it's New Jersey. It's Newark, New Jersey. It's the Prudential Center. They just don't have talent. They just don't. Their talent is young right now. They still have to develop.
I do.
We're not going to earn any subscribers that are fans of the New Jersey.
No, I'm sorry if you're listening to this and you're a Devils fan. I'm sorry. You're just listening to us to bash your team.
Well, we're not bashing their team. We're bashing their franchise, their city. Like, the only thing that we've said that's nice has been the jerseys.
I'm telling this from a point. My mom is from Old Bridge, New Jersey, and my dad is from Perth Amboy, which isn't too far.
And are they Devils fans?
No, they are not.
Then that's another indictment.
But, I do have a rebuttal for Sean of somebody that had a 3-year downgrade to them. Let's stick with
these
the New Jersey
past
Devils.
3 years. Go ahead.
Oh, these past 3 years, then never mind. Because I was going to stick with the New Jersey Devils, and I was going to say the man Corey Schneider. Corey Schneider, who was able to take them to a Stanley Cup final run, the man that was an NHL All-Star in 2016, and also was shared the William M. Jennings Trophy with Roberto Luongo as one of the best 1-2 tandems in Vancouver.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm just thinking of these last 3 years in particular.
The last 3 years, I think, PK Subban can run that list.
Yeah, no, but I think that's enough Devils bashing. I think we need to move on.
13 minutes of poor New Jersey
it has been precisely I don't know, a lot. Yeah, no, well, it's been 14 minutes and 15 seconds of nothing but introduction and Devils bashing. So moving on. Yeah, you were. So hopefully no Devils fans are listening, otherwise they're probably having a fit right now at us. But 7th place. I would like to hear Tristan's outtake on 7th place first. Who do you think will be finishing in 7th in the Metropolitan this year?
Ooh, you know, it's a pretty tough one because after the Devils, it gets pretty even between all the teams.
I agree.
Yes, I agree.
As just kind of like one of the teams who just hasn't really been able to do much in terms of like postseason, regular season, and just kind of acquisitions to their team. is the Blue Jackets. I'm gonna have to put them at 7th, even though they did get Max Domi over the summer. I don't think they're gonna be able to really do anything with him to actually make him like a worthwhile acquisition.
I'm gonna say I'm just gonna jump in right now.
I couldn't agree with Tristan.
I have the Blue Jackets in the exact same spot. I have
So do I.
their additions. Max Domi was an absolute great acquisition. I thought they absolutely destroyed the Canadians in that trade. I thought Max Domi was a great acquisition. And another acquisition, notable one at least, is Mikko Koivu. I mean, he's old, but I mean he
Putting it lightly.
he brings a little bit of
He brings
extra.
something.
Yeah, he brings hockey to
body.
He plays
He can
hockey.
skate.
He can lace him
He
up.
can carry a
Okay,
stick.
he's old, but he brings the knowledge too. A team that is kind of young, but they lose Marco Dano and they didn't qualify Alexander Venberg, which used to be a pretty big name in Columbus, and even with God, what's his name, Merzlikins?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Merzlikins and is it Corpusalo that's still there?
So yeah, my
Corpusalo's absolutely
biggest
still
question
there.
mark with the Blue Jackets was Jonas Corpusalo and their goaltending. Are
Yeah,
they going to be able to keep? Is Corpusalo going to be able to do what he did against the Tampa Bay Lightning with his 87
Okay, is he going to break
saves?
NHL records every night? No, but is he?
Yeah.
I think. I mean, it's funny. I'm sure as we've done every episode, Tommy has NHL playing right now on the screen. That was a favorite of Tommy and I to sign or trade for when we would run a franchise.
Absolutely.
In the past several NHLs, because he always developed into
a great
bona fide superstar.
goaltender.
And so I think Jonas Corpusalo was kind of that perfect, not necessarily replacement for Bobrovsky, because it's hard to replace a guy like Bobrovsky, but I think he is the caliber of goalie to step in and at least try to fill those shoes in the best way that anybody in Columbus can expect. And I'll say this, I mean, since we're already just on the topic and I'm already talking about it, I agree. I have the Blue Jackets there, which is kind of nuts as we were talking about falls from grace. And this was a team that, in 2018 gave the Caps, who ended up winning the Stanley Cup, a real run for their money in the playoffs. Ended up winning their first playoff series the very next year against the number 1 overall seed, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Like, this is a team that's shown some promise, and they just weren't able to kind of put everything together. Expanded playoff this past year, and they got to enjoy some of the postseason festivities. But I definitely see this team just being taken over this year by the New York Rangers.
It's the way I see the Jackets is the goaltending is the number one question, and with Korpisalo, since we were talking about him, I think he could be a good replacement for Bobrovsky. I mean, those are tough shoes to fill.
Oh yeah.
But the thing is with Korpisalo is that he hasn't really played up to his potential quite yet. And I mean, he's still pretty young. I want to say he's like 24 or 5 or something like that.
I think he's 24.
Yeah, so he still has time, a little bit of time to grow, but he hasn't been the kind of elite goaltender that we thought he could be. And I mean, we're only 1 year removed from Bob being out of Columbus, so I mean, maybe he just needs some time to really come into his own and get out of Bobrovsky's shadow. But I don't know if he's the one to really be that solidified everyday goaltender. And the way I think they're going to do it in Columbus is they might have a 50-50 with Jonas Korpisalo and Merzlikins. They might have them split 41-41 or however they're going to do it this season, if they just play less games. I don't know. But I don't think Korpisalo or I think there's potential that Korpisalo may not be the answer, and they may have to look into the draft or maybe sign a guy.
I mean, is a guy like Marc-Andre Fleury on their radar? Because Marc-Andre Fleury, I understand the Vegas Golden Knights are trying to say that we're going to run a 1A, 1B type of goalie tandem this year. But as we've stated with the teams like the Carolina Hurricanes and before the Lundqvist signing in the Washington Capitals, I think Columbus Blue Jackets are right up there as well. Are they going to try to acquire a goalie like Marc-Andre Fleury onto their team? because
You see,
there's
I don't
just,
think so because
I'm gonna guess no.
I'm not saying yes, and I'm not saying no either. I'm just saying that it is a very slim chance that they could be looking for somebody like that to acquire onto their team. I'm not saying it's 100% going to be Marc-Andre Fleury, but are they going to be looking towards a trade block in the near future of kind of wanting to move on from either Merzlikins or Korpisalo to try to get a bona fide number one guy?
I don't think so,
I don't see
because
Fleury.
I think they're gonna have those two guys kind of battle it out. I feel like they're gonna be like, all right, you know what, you guys are fighting for the number one spot. Play your heart out, and we'll see where it goes. And I feel like there's for Marc-Andre Fleury, there are not better teams, but there are more open spots for him to go to, like the Carolina Hurricanes. So you don't really have anybody trying to fight for like a real solidified starter position. For the Hurricanes, it's kind of just like, okay, you don't have any broken bones. Get out there.
Yeah,
Okay.
I also think Marc-Andre Fleury is going to be more of a target for a team that's win now.
Yeah,
Because think about it, he's in the back end of his career. He's getting paid a pretty penny. Like, it's not like he's cheap.
No.
And I also think that, again, like Tristan said, you have two decent young goalies in your system, and if you're Columbus, you're kind of revolving primarily around youth, right? Like I mean, you have some veteran presence. You have one of the best defensemen in the game, and Seth Jones. He's going to be a superstar. It's probably going to win multiple Norrises in his career. But I think that when you look at the trajectory of where the franchise and the team is going, I don't think they are in a win now mode, which I think is going to be required in order to move and acquire Marc-Andre Fleury.
They really don't have the caliber talent that they did when they gave the Caps the run for their money. They just really don't. I mean, I'm trying to remember what that first line was like. I mean, that first line
For the Blue Jackets?
Yes, it was a deadly first line. Like,
how long ago was that?
oh Jesus, yeah, it was 2 years.
2 years ago? I think that was the line where they had Dubois with Dubinsky and Cam Atkinson.
Yeah, no, it with now. I mean, who's that French kid? Texier, Alexandre Texier.
Gosh,
he's going to be
is
good.
So exciting.
He's going to be fun to watch, but he's just not as good as he will be right now. And then, I mean, Pierre-Luc Dubois is a great player, and I mean, Oliver Bjorkstrand is all right, but that's not a first line I would really have.
Get excited over.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, it's fun because you got some young guys in there. But
so one thing I did want to say about Columbus is so like the Ryan Murray addition onto New Jersey, it's not really going to help. But I definitely think that the Ryan Murray, like getting rid of Ryan Murray from Columbus, I do think that that's going to hurt the Blue Jackets more than it's going to help the Devils. If that makes sense.
Well, I mean, he's a good defenseman, and I'm looking at Daily Faceoff. I was looking at it earlier, and that kind of leaves the Blue Jackets stuck with Gabriel Carlsson and Dean Kukan as their bottom pair defenseman. And I mean, having Ryan Murray up in that third pair would just make it better, because I mean, those guys they weren't that good. I mean, just to be completely flat out, they really were not that good at all. Because Gavrikov was pretty good, Savard was all right, and then I mean the top line that is Seth Jones and Zach Werenski is like one of the best defensive lines in the NHL. It's just incredible, but this team just does not have what it takes to. They're going to beat out the Devils, but they do not have what it takes to make the playoffs, or even really be that competitive in this division. But going to the sixth place finish, so far we have the Devils. All of us have the Devils. All of us have the Blue Jackets in sixth place. Sean, who is in sixth place?
The New York Rangers.
The New York Rangers. Why are the New York Rangers in sixth place?
Because they're making the right moves, right? Like they're adding good talent. They've drafted a home run pick. You can't really go wrong when you have the first overall pick, unless you don't take the guy everybody agrees you should take. And I mean, I think Lafreniere is going to end up making an immediate impact. I think this team is built on youth, right? And it's built on young forwards. I mean, Capo Caco and Alexis Lafreniere are going to be a dynamic duo that the league is going to have so much fun promoting and marketing for the next 10 years, especially if they stay in a media market like New York. That's going to be great for the game, great for the city, great for the league. I just don't think it's all going to come together right away, right? Like nobody can expect that.
Absolutely.
It's going to still be. Did Henrik Lundqvist play great last year? No, but you can't really expect that much of the poor guy considering how old he is now in the back end of his career. They are going to have to make up for the fact that he's not going to be able to fill in some games. They do have some youth at that position as well. The name is escaping me. Tommy would obviously.
Georgiev.
Yeah, Georgiev is. I mean, he'll be good. And I remember you were afraid of them potentially trading him for some other asset. They ended up not making that decision, which I think was a sensible one.
I agree.
Tommy and I have always had this conversation, and it's a hilarious one because it's a paradox, right? James Dolan manages his two franchises in completely opposite ways. The New York Knicks, for some reason, are always terrible, but always in win-now mode. Yet he is the most patient owner of all time when it comes to his other franchise that plays in the same building, the New York Rangers. And he is allowing the Rangers to really kind of
take their time,
ferment like a good wine, right? Like, the Rangers haven't been good in a while. They haven't. They there was a long stretch, especially in the early 2010s, where they were making Stanley Cups. They were competing. They were a competitive franchise. They looked like they were still going to be one of those teams to be reckoned with as, a big original six team to kind of help run the East, if you will. Unfortunately, they just were never able to make it over the final hump, and they've ended up having to deal with a huge rebuild that they've allowed to kind of take place over time. And I think you have to just look at this division. The Metropolitan is the best division in hockey.
Undoubtedly.
I mean, and it's not really close. Like the Metropolitan is incredibly deep, and it's going to be hard for these teams towards the bottom half to really start climbing their way up into the top half, because you still, as of now, like we've said at the beginning of this show, you would still have to play all of those teams at the top half of the division more than anybody else in the league. So it's just kind of like, a cannibalistic effect where the division's going to eat itself. And it's going to be hard to see who comes out on top in that. But I think that the Rangers are making good headway in the direction that they need to go. I just don't think they have enough in place right now to make a serious gain in the division and kind of head up towards the top in a playoff spot. So
I'm going to jump in now since I am the Rangers fan, and I'm going to tell you I completely agree. I have the Rangers in the exact same spot. I have them finishing sixth. I have them as one of the biggest wild cards, though, in this division. I think it really rests on a few things, like very few, and those things are like it. First of all, Lafreniere. Is Lafreniere going to have a good rookie season where he puts up 40 or 50 points? Where if he puts up 40 or 50 points, I mean, that's fine. He's clearly developing and he's getting used to playing with the big boys. That's not going to get them into the playoffs. If he has a 70-point season, possibly a point per game type of season, like almost like a Connor McDavid-esque thing, like stuff that people have been talking about, that could possibly shoot the Rangers up, clearly not into the top three, but look, they're in the hunt for the wild card. And they kind of saw that last year. The Rangers were in the hunt for the wild card before Corona, of course, going into the last little bit of the season, and that was pre-Lafreniere. So if Laf can bring in another 80 or so points, that really changes the game. On top of that, you have Shesterkin. He's going to be the new number one. It's not a contest anymore with Georgiev. Shesterkin is the number one. In 12 games, he went 10-2. He's clearly not going to be going 40-3 or 50-6 the entire season, because that's just unattainable numbers. But he has clearly shown that he is a extremely capable goaltender at this level and has what it takes to be the stud goalie that is going to have to take over after Lundqvist. The other biggest thing, and I would say this is arguably the biggest thing, is the defense. Their defense has just been garbage. Maybe not garbage. There have been times where it's been very good and very adequate, but it's not consistent. Getting rid of Mark Stahl, that's a good move because he was literally one of the worst defensemen in the league last year. But then adding Jack Johnson, who is literally just a taller version of Mark Stahl, doesn't make sense. Like like they signed him for $1 million, so it's like just it's a drop, but it just doesn't make any sense because he's going to be on that bottom three. They made pretty much no other big offseason moves other than acquiring Lafreniere and getting Jack Johnson. They signed Anthony Botetto. He's going to be the 7th D-man. He could fill in. And then Kevin Rooney, who's going to be like the 13th or 14th forward, just a scratch guy who might play a couple of games just to give some guys a rest or for injury. But losing Lundqvist hurts, and honestly, I think he's going to have a better season on the Capitals just for that defensive reason. The Capitals just have a better defense. And then losing Jesper Fast also hurts to the division rival that is the Carolina Hurricanes. And then, they got rid of Elias Anderson, who doesn't really matter. But I think they are the biggest wild card in this division. I'm really trying not to be biased, and I hope you guys kind of see what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
where they have.
No, I mean, the thing is the top of it. It's the division is so it's so deep, and like I said, this kind of goes back to the cannibalistic nature of just really deep and good divisions that you're going to end up you're not going to probably have 100-point winner in this division. You're just not. Like, I mean, it's not like in the Atlantic, you've had the Bruins and the Lightning get a chance to just beat up on the Red Wings and Ottawa the past several years. Like, that's not the case in the Metropolitan Division.
That's 8 free points, yeah.
Yeah.
There's also, are there even going to be 82 games played this
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, it's just like there's so much more up for grabs this year. And, yeah, I mean, you never know what's going to happen, especially if, let's say, they do another expanded playoff. I mean, weird things happen, man, in hockey. That's why there's nothing like playoff hockey. One of my favorite follows on Twitter, John Boys, is my favorite tweet from him of all time is, why watch playoff overtime hockey when you can just snort cocaine and jump out of an airplane? Like, I mean, it's about the same rush because you just don't know what's going to happen. It's just utter chaos. And I mean, yeah, the team has the talent. If they can somehow make it all click, then they'll be fine. But it's just a matter of putting it all together and over the period of an entire season, whether that be 40 games, 50 games, 60 games, or a full 82.
Yeah, it's there's going to be a lot of questions with this team, but Tristan and Alex, who do you guys have finishing 6th? Let's start off with Alex. Alex, who's in 6th place?
So 6th place, I couldn't agree with you guys more. I have the New York Rangers chilling in 6th place because I think Sean worded it perfectly when he said that this team is slowly coming together. What's the owner's name? James Dolan?
James Dolan, the Knicks owner.
Yeah. So I do think James Dolan's been insanely patient with this team, which
is wild.
It's
just so wild.
It doesn't make any sense.
Tommy, I know, Tommy. You love to keep me up to date with New York sports, which I love. But yeah,
we love the Knickerbockers here.
But yeah, no, this team is being absolutely patient. They're taking their time through this wild rebuild stage right now. But I definitely see this team on teetering on a playoff spot. I think it really has to rely on, is Georgiev and is Shesterkin, are they going to play at the top of their level? We've seen 12 games, was it, Tommy, Shesterkin play?
Yeah.
All right, so 12 games with Shesterkin, won 10 of them. Is he going to be able to carry not that type of record over, but is he going to be able to carry that type of play style over into this year as a
about to find out
as a maybe bona fide starter? It's definitely going to be split. I believe, in my opinion, I think it's definitely going to be split between both of them. I think it's going to be a 50-50 type of goaltender duo unless they see maybe even Georgiev take a step forward or Shesterkin just run away with the number one spot. But I definitely think that this team's success heavily relies on their goaltender play. Defense, yeah, but I think that now with the loss of Lundqvist, I think that's the biggest hole you have to fill. And is Shesterkin going to be able to step into the Kings' shoes right now? And is he going to be able to run away with this new number one spot? It scares me that it's Shesterkin. You haven't seen much of him lately, but if he plays like a 10-2 style Shesterkin, then I think the Rangers might be able to be a playoff team right now. Their offense is coming together slowly. I love the prospects that they have. Capo Caco, Lafreniere, even Brett Howden. I love some of these younger players that they're bringing into the team. Philip Hedel, or is it Chittle or Hedel? Because I've heard you say both.
I have said both because I genuinely do not know. I think it's Hedel. I'm pretty sure it's
so
Hedel.
I'm gonna say
Don
Philip Cheadle.
yes.
I'm just gonna go off straight how it's spelled. Philip Cheadle, it is. But he's a very exciting prospect. I thought Lias Andersson was going to be something. Obviously, he wasn't. But regardless of their offense, I definitely think that their success, like I said, heavily relies on their goaltender play.
No, I completely agree. Tristan, who is number 6 for you?
It's the Rangers. But honestly,
There we go.
this was a really hard one. Like, my first 2 picks and my last 2 picks for, number 1, number 2, and number 7, number 8, they're pretty solidified in my mind. Those middle 4, really hard to pin down because, like you guys said, Rangers are a complete wild card, and if they can get their goalie situation down, then they're in a playoff spot. They definitely have to work on their defense, but I feel like they definitely have the guys to kind of like provide them with a decent amount of defense to just kind of help the goalies out, let them make their saves, and then move the puck to the young guys up front who can, score the goals.
The thing that doesn't necessarily worry me about the defense and why I have them all the way down here at 6th is that the good defense that we're going to see is still playing in college right now and in the minors. So the Rangers have time to wait. They have some time to wait. But the defense is definitely the number 1 with them.
Yeah.
But so far we are all 3 for 3 on agreeing. But as we see, it's kind of getting a bit shakier now as we get into the top 5. 5th place, Alex. Who's 5th place?
For 5th place, see, now this is what's so damn hard about this division is because it's just, as everyone has stated so far, it's just such a tight division that I could see a lot of these teams flip-flopping, but I think the New York Islanders are going to sit solidly in 5th place. This is a team like the Devils, just with more talent. I understand the type of run that the Islanders went on in the playoffs. People are starting to jump onto the Islanders bandwagon, I feel like, but I don't know. I just see this team being a middle of the pack team. Do you have their list of additions and subtractions for me?
So the biggest additions that I could find, and if there's any Islanders fans, I apologize half-heartedly, but the biggest additions that I could find are AJ Greer and Austin Czarnik, and their biggest losses are Derek Brassard, Thomas Greiss, and then of course Devin Taves. So yeah.
I think Devin Taves is a low key type of a big loss. I definitely, but I don't know. There's just parts of this team that do excite me, and that's like their first line. But then the rest of this team is one of those top heavy teams where they can dominate with their first and second line, whether it's offense or defense, and then it just falls off after that. They're the type of and I don't like comparing these teams to the Chicago Blackhawks, but they are the type of team like the Blackhawks when they made their Stanley Cup runs. They like to build these first and second lines top heavy so they can dominate, and then they fill these third and fourth lines with not really the greatest players. These third and fourth lines are going to be those lines that come out there, get a little bit of energy going. We're going to get a couple hits here and there, and we're going to get the puck frozen in the offensive zone so then we can put our first or second line out there and maybe capitalize off of a face-off. With that being said, there's a couple guys on this team. I don't even know if Andrew Ladd is still playing, Nick Leddy. Their team is they're not getting younger. They have Cal Clutterbuck on this team as well. As I said, Nick Leddy, who I thought was a great defenseman on the Blackhawks, but kind of fell off pretty heavily. Andrew Ladd, I have no idea what happened to him. Josh Bailey's another one. Josh Bailey's always been Mr. Reliable. I mean, I think you could compare him to a Justin Williams. Now, he's not on the same level as Justin Williams, but he's the same type of player where he's going to come in the clutch and score, or maybe even get a clutch assist for you. But just overall, there's nothing on this team that excites me. I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. No, is their starting goaltender going to be Semyon Varlamov this year?
So that is the biggest question that I had written down for them was their goaltending.
How old is he now?
I don't know, but I don't even care how old. He's just not that good. He's just not that good.
I wouldn't even consider him overrated. I would just consider him not that great. Yeah, rated. I just see this team kind of. I could absolutely see the Rangers finishing above the Islanders. That is if the Rangers. If everything goes in the Rangers' favor, if they get the goaltending, the offense, and the defense, which could happen. But it's just like I said, they're a team like the Devils. I don't get excited for this team. Matthew Barzal is like the only guy I would tune in to watch. Maybe even a Bolivier. But, I mean, that's about it. I don't really see much in this team that I like.
Yeah, no, I have the Islanders here, too. I pretty much agree with everything you said about the Islanders.
One more thing about this team is, are we going to see Oliver Wahlstrom?
Yes, no, that's I was kind of getting to that. The other factor that I wrote down for them is, are the young guys going to come in and are they going to play well? And the two guys that I really had listed down, and I know it's going to be three. Well, it's going to be three. Are Oliver Wahlstrom? Is he going to see consistent minutes? Is he going to be that offensive production that they thought they were going to get with him when they took him in the lottery? Ilya Sorokin is the goaltender that will be filling in that spot that Thomas Greiss left. I'm not 100% sure if he saw time in the NHL last season, but I know he's good. He's one of the best goaltending prospects in the league as of right now, and I think he's going to do all right. He's going to eventually take over the reins from Semyon Varlamov. But the other guy that I would like to see from the Islanders kind of get better, and I think it's one of the bigger factors for them, is Noah Dobson, the defenseman that they drafted in the same draft as Oliver Wahlstrom. He's young. I think he's only 20 years old still. He might be 21, but
I think he's 20.
Yeah, but can he kind of find himself and find a nice role and play some good defense, log some good minutes, get some good offensive possessions? Because he was, I think, a bit of an offensive defenseman when they first drafted him. I think he's a bit on the smaller side for a defenseman. Is he going to play well? Are these young guys going to play well? And that's the biggest question. I have them just above the Rangers, but the Islanders are definitely an interesting team to look at. Tristan, who do you have at 5th place?
I'm kind of bored with all this. We keep agreeing because I also have the Islanders at 5th place.
There we go.
And the only reason I have them above, it is. But the only reason I have above the Rangers is because they did show in the last playoffs that they had the ability to win. I feel like you guys aren't giving them enough credit. Granted, they don't deserve all of the credit, all the credit that some people might be giving them. But you shouldn't be counting them out because when they get a fire under their seat, they can go. And Ilya, I was about to say Samsonov, Semyon Varlamov.
Yeah,
he showed that
the other capital.
Exactly. Just got a good program here in DC.
Yes, sir. Big Russian guys.
Oh yeah, really rocking the red here.
Yes.
With Varlamov, he's shown that he can, make those big plays, save the big pucks. Like he's doing a pretty good job.
He wins the best if we just go off of the playoffs last year. Like, I'm going to be honest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. And then also having Ilya Sorokin just to give him a little bit of a break will, allow him to have the energy that he needs to keep doing what he's doing. But again, with this freaking division just being so tight as it is, I can absolutely see them falling not behind CBJ or the Columbus Blue Jackets or whatever, but definitely behind the Rangers. If the Rangers could even make a chance at like number 3, maybe number 2, if there's a miracle or something.
Ooh, yeah, miracle.
But,
yeah.
That's
coming from the Rangers fan.
Then
If God himself comes
they have a lot
down.
of weapons.
Yeah, but no, I agree. I think 6th place is the absolute floor for the Islanders, and I think I was kind of debating where I would put the Islanders before I settled on 5th. I think 3rd is their ceiling, but Sean, do you agree with everybody? Is the Islanders in 5th place or someone else?
You better say yes. Oh my gosh.
I have the Carolina Hurricanes.
Ooh, that's an interesting one. Why is it the Carolina Hurricanes?
So it's pretty much, I mean, it's less about the Hurricanes and it's more about the Islanders. I think the Islanders play the worst style of hockey, or the most boring style of hockey of any team in the National Hockey League. They are terrible TV. It's terrible to watch. However, they somehow find a way to win games doing their style of play. I mean, you saw it in the playoffs. They grind teams down to a point and to a dust. I mean, it's just their defensive prowess is insane, which is, I mean, and then they hold on to the puck like a ridiculous amount. I mean, I remember specifically in the Capital series, it was ridiculous just how much it seemed like I was watching the Islanders have the puck in the offensive zone rather than the Capitals have the puck at all. Like, it's just, it's a terribly boring style of hockey to watch. It makes you want to blow your brains out if you're not a fan of the team. But, again, we've talked all night about how tight this division is. I mean, the Islanders finished 1 point behind the Carolina Hurricanes, like, last year. So, I mean, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for them to, be in that conversation of right there again. And I think the Carolina Hurricanes, like, they have good offensive pieces. Obviously, you have Svechnikov, you have Aho. But Svechnikov, by the way, Alex's new favorite move in Shell is
the Michigan. The Michigan.
Dude, if you get a chance to do a highlight reel goal, you're going to take it.
You got to try it. But, I mean, again, like, you look at the points last year, Carolina finished with 81, the Islanders finished with 80. I think, again, we want to be looking at something that similar to that, whether it be between 3 and 1 point difference between these two teams. And I just think, I like kind of the veteran presence that the Islanders have. I think a lot has to do with the coaches, too. Rob Brind'Amour is a hell of a coach. But yes. I do think Barry Trotz has the advantage there if you're comparing the two squads. And I think Barry Trotz, I mean, it pains me every single day to see him not in Washington. And I think he proved that he was deserving of every cent that the Capitals could have offered him after that Stanley Cup run when he beat them with a far less superior team or inferior team. Like, and so I have the Islanders actually finishing just one. I mean, this is a perfect segue because we do got to get things kind of rolling. I think I have the Islanders finishing exactly one spot ahead of the Carolina Hurricanes, who I have finishing in
4th place.
6th.
We're
sixth.
In 6th.
That was 6th. So now we're on 5th.
No, that was 5th. No, that was 5th. We are now going up to 4th.
I don't know. I don't even know where we are.
Yeah, we're going up to 4th. We are now going up to 4th place, and
okay. So yeah, I have the Islanders finishing. I have the Islanders finishing 4th.
All right. Well, why? Since that's a decent segue going into 4th, why do you have the Islanders finishing 4th?
Well, for all the reasons I just said, I think that they have a decent goalie tandem going with them, especially led by Semyon Varlamov. If he can even slightly continue what he was doing in the playoffs, they'll be fine on the back end. I mean, offensively, they don't have a lot of weapons that wow you, but I mean, again, you just kind of have to look at their style of play, and they don't really need these high point scorers. They just kind of need guys that can that can hold onto the puck for a long time and can get in, kind of the dirty areas and score some greasy goals. And again, it's terrible to watch them play, but you have to respect the results, and I think they're going to end up having more wins than they will losses this year.
And I
So
think
if
this
I
is
can
what
just say really quick.
Okay, go ahead.
So Sean's saying that, and we can see success from it from the Islanders, but we can also see success from it from the, if you guys remember when they were the Phoenix Coyotes in the early 2010s,
Yes.
when it was 2010, 2011.
Shane
What they would do
Donovan,
is exactly. What they would do is they would get that 1-goal lead in the third period, whether it was late or early. They'd get that 1-goal lead, and they would just dominate the possession numbers, and they would just try to get you tired as hell. And they would just dominate until, basically what I'm trying to say, they would park the bus the entire third period with that 1-goal lead, whether it was 1-0, whether it was 8-7. They would just try to keep that lead, and that is how the New York Islanders play. Boring. It is
the goal
so
differential is not going to be great. In fact, they might have one of
Exactly.
the worst goal differentials in
Exactly.
the division in terms of ones that are positive. However, I just think that it's going to be just enough to get them into the top 4 rather than the Carolina Hurricanes.
Well,
and
I guess this is
we're
where we
looking at
start.
this-
Yeah.
Yeah, well, again, we're just looking at how, the latest sample from these teams, right? Mm-hmm. And the New York Islanders, if you're looking at the latest sample, they're better than the Penguins. Like, I mean, it's just like they're better than the Capitals. If you're just going based off the last games we've seen these teams play, they've beaten these teams. And I'm not saying it's how it's going to end up working out. It's clearly not going to end up where the Islanders win the division. Nobody's saying that. But I think it's worth – I mean, to what Tristan said earlier, do the Islanders deserve all the credit in the world for what they did in the playoffs? No. But do they deserve a lot of credit? Yes, because they beat some good teams. They beat some teams that they had no business being in the same room with. And I think that shouldn't be gone unnoticed, and that should be – they should be rewarded for it.
I agree with that.
No, I completely agree, and I think this is where we really start getting into some things that we don't agree in. For fourth place, for me, this is where I have the Pittsburgh Penguins finishing. They had one of the more interesting off seasons. They added and subtracted a lot of players from this team. The notable additions they have on this team are Cody Ceci. They got Jankowski, Matheson, Sevier, Kasperi Kapanen, and Pontus Aberg now on this team, or Auberg, pardon me. They lost, clearly, Matt Murray. That's a big loss for them. Connor Sheary, Justin Schultz left to go to a division rival.
It doesn't matter if you lose Matt Murray if you have a goalie that's getting MVP votes.
That is very true. I still don't know how Tristan Jarry is getting MVP votes, but he is. But Jack Johnson was the last guy. The biggest factors I have for them are what is life without Matt Murray going to look like, and Tristan Jarry taking over those starting numbers, and then
I think it's going to be bad.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think Tristan Jarry is going to repeat MVP vote caliber kind of play.
Yes.
But going into this season, people were already talking, and they kind of played like it. They were already on the downturn even before this season. They aren't the number one team in the Met like they used to be for years and years and years, with Evgeny Malkin and Crosby just dominating the play. They're no longer that. There are guys getting older, and there are guys that are leaving the team, and they are different, and I mean they clearly look different. And to be honest, the only reason why I don't have this team farther down the list is because of the additions that they made. Kasperi Kapanen was a great addition. Cody Ceci was a good addition. Jankowski was a good addition. Evan Rodrigues, who I think I didn't mention before, but he also got added. He's a decent addition. They lost a lot of really good talent, but I definitely see the Pens finishing here, and I think they may have saved themselves 1, 2, possibly 3 years of before they really have to start thinking about retooling or getting in the rebuild. Alex, who do you think is going to be finishing in fourth?
So finishing at fourth place, I have the Philadelphia Flyers. And so the reason that I have them finishing at fourth, it's not because I see them lesser as any other team. It's because I see the rest of this division, as in 3, 2, and 1, as just better than Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. So I do see the Flyers as a borderline playoff team. I don't see, again, anything that blows my mind with this team. They do have their youth and their youth, I do have to say, is developing really quickly. They have that I think Max Frost, or I think it's Max Frost. He's developing really quickly. They have Provorov, who's been playing out of his mind. Claude Giroux, who is honestly the ageless wonder at this point. Doesn't matter how old he is, he's still going to play out of his mind. And as a elite and almost one of the best centers in the league, in my opinion, I've always been a Claude Giroux fan. But it's their defense that really does scare me. Shane Gostisbehere is being talked about right now as potentially leaving the Flyers. And if Shane Gostisbehere leaves the Flyers, I think that's a massive, massive loss for them. That's going to hurt their defense, and it's going to cause a massive hole in their defense. Now, if that happens...
I have to... sorry to interrupt you, but I
think... No, go ahead.
I don't think Gostisbehere leaving is going to do jack anything for the Flyers. Honestly, it might help them by just relieving some cap space to sign or re-sign somebody actually important to the organization, because Gostisbehere, he hasn't done anything recently.
See, but the only reason I'm saying that that's going to be a massive loss for them is because I don't see anything special on defense. They do have these younger guys that are making their way through, but who's his D partner? His name is blanking on me right now, but his D partner, it's an easy 1-2 defensive pairing, but other than that, I don't see them being able to compete with these other 1, 2, and 3 teams. Carter Hart's been amazing, but is he going to be able to keep that going? He is still relatively young. I definitely think we might. Is this year coming up? Is that going to be considered his sophomore year?
I believe so.
I think
so are we going to see a sophomore slump from him? Now, the one thing is the sophomore slump in the NHL. History has been pretty accurate when it comes to sophomore slumps. So that's what scares me right there, and we don't really see any help on goaltender as well. Who's his backup right now?
Brian Elliott.
Brian Elliott. They re-signed Brian Elliott.
Yeah, well, thank you. You're making my point by saying it was Brian Elliott.
Hey.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Exactly. You can't count. I mean, you see it with the Blackhawks. You can't count on Corey Crawford for that long. You can't count on Carter Hart for that long. So I don't know. I definitely see the Philadelphia.
Please say his name in the proper.
Carter Hart.
There it is.
Carter Hart.
You can't count on Carter Hart for that long. So, like when you go. How long are you going to be able to bank on him when you go play these back-to-back games? I don't know. I definitely see the Flyers in a limbo year, as in, they might be able to make the playoffs in literally the last game of the year, as that happened in, what was that, 2016? So I don't know. The Flyers are one of those teams where I've been back and forth on, is I can see them as a lower tier team, but I can also see them as a higher tier team. So might as well put them dead center at 4th place right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, Tristan, I think you're the only one left. Who's 4th place?
For me, it's Pittsburgh, because again, almost like what Alex said, the 1, 2, 3 above them is just better.
Mm-hmm.
They have Crosby, they have Malkin, but they're getting older, and they're not going to be able to play the minutes that they used to, or even, score the amazing goals that they've done over the past few years. And, sure, they have a decent defense, but there's no point in having a decent defense if you have nobody between the pipes. Tristan Jarry, he might be decent. He's probably going to be, a reliable starter, but who do they have after that? Casey DeSmith? I don't think they're going to get anywhere with those two guys. And, you definitely can't count Crosby out yet, because, he's still Crosby. He's still one of the best players to ever touch the ice. But I think he's only going to be able to carry them so far and get them into, wild card maybe kind of position but I see Pittsburgh just nice little fourth place spot. Maybe honestly fifth if again the Rangers do well.
Yeah, no. All right. Well, now we got to start getting into the playoffs, the teams that make the playoffs, and I think I'm going to start this one. In third place, I have the Carolina Hurricanes finishing in third place. I liked what they did this offseason. I think their biggest factor, and it's a pretty glaring factor, is the goaltender. And, I mean, I've said this before in earlier shows. Marc-Andre Fleury, even though, they have him as a 1A, 1B, and I know the 1A, 1B is going to be the Golden Knights' bread and butter for a little bit, but the Canes are going to be looking for a number one, and Marc-Andre Fleury is going to be their number one target, I believe. They are going to look at him long and hard if they're doing as well as people think they're going to do, because, I mean, Reimer and Mrazek just aren't going to get you to the Stanley Cup. That's just how it is. They added Jesper Fast, which was a huge loss for the Rangers. I mean, I loved Jesper Fast. He was a great, really kind of not a grinder, but he was a gritty guy. He signed a pretty good deal there, a pretty cap-friendly deal. And then they didn't really lose all that much. They lost TVR too. I mean, a in-division rival. They lost Justin Williams, and they also lost this time Sami Vatanen. So this is where I guess Sami Vatanen went. But I mean, they're not really losing too much. There's not a lot of value to be lost there. So that's why I have the Canes finishing third, the last spot to automatically qualify for the playoffs. Alex, who's third place for you?
In third place, sorry boys, I got the Washington Capitals.
Wow.
I'm sorry. The Washington Capitals, they are a team that excite me. Every year they excite me. I definitely think the Washington Capitals could absolutely battle for second place. They're a team that season after season just keeps winning. You see them every year almost compete for the President's Trophy, which you'll love to see when you're Sean and Tristan. This is a year though where their goaltender is Samsonov this year?
Yeah, it's going to be Samsonov and Lundqvist splitting.
Are they going to run a 1A, 1B? Or are they going to... Yeah. Okay. So is the King going to be the King this year? Is Samsonov going to be able to show his true colors this year? And is he going to be able to dominate as they saw him dominate in the KHL?
It's worth noting he dominated last year in the limited... showings he had. He did dominate.
This is a team, though, where I didn't want to put them at 3, but I didn't want to put them at 2. And I didn't want to put them at 1 either. But regardless of that, I definitely see this team competing, but I can see the Penguins, the Hurricanes, and the Capitals all competing for the number 1 spot. I definitely think this is going to be an insanely tight divisional race for that number 1 spot. I just don't see the Capitals being able to finish at the latter end of the season. Their offense is pretty good. Their third and fourth line do worry me. Now Sean and Tristan can absolutely answer this. Do their third and fourth line do they produce points as much as they should?
I'd say yes.
I'd say they could do a little bit better.
Like they could do better, but they produce. I would say they're on par with what you would expect from a third and fourth line.
Their third and fourth line, I just don't know much of them.
Just because I'm thinking about 2018 and how the bottom lines just completely stepped up then.
Well, that's fair. I mean, they don't have a Devontae Smith-Pelly or stuff like that.
Their third and fourth line, I just don't know that much about their third and fourth line. I don't know that much about their depth. Ovi's going to do Ovi things. Backstrom's going to do Backstrom things. And John Carlson, he's going to be John Carlson, which we know is one of the greatest defensemen in the league, in my opinion. Should have won the Norris, in my opinion. I think he absolutely got snubbed for that, by the way. Let's just move on from that real quick. But yeah, this is a team that when their first and second line put up points, they're going to dominate. They're going to run through the division, but they need the back end help. They need the back end depth. Are they going to be able to get that it's just a big question mark, as in the entire division of, is this team going to dominate like they have in the past? I just don't know yet with the Capitals.
Yeah.
I mean, I can, like, as I've said though, I can see the Capitals finishing in third. I can see the Capitals finishing in first. The top three, you can even say the top four of this division is so hard to predict at this point.
Tristan, number 3 for you. Who gets that last playoff spot?
Number 3 for me, Carolina Hurricanes.
Y'all are sleeping on the Hurricanes.
Like to hear it.
The thing that the reason I put them at 3 is because of their goalie situation. They have amazing depth for offense and their defensive lines, but until they solve their goalie situation, they're not going to be making that much of a push. Granted, like I fully expect them to do something. And maybe it's not Marc-Andre Fleury, but they're probably going to be looking around, shopping around for somebody. But another thing is, I don't know who they're going to have to like give up. Like, what's that package going to entail to where they're going to have to get an actual starting caliber goalie? But, you know, they can score goals. They have an amazing defense with Jacob Slavin and, what's his name? Man from Calgary.
Dougie Hamilton.
Oh, Dougie
Hamilton, yeah. So they have a great
All
1-2
right,
punch
Hamilton.
for the defensive line. And I think with that, they're going to be able to compensate for their lack of goalie strength a little bit there, but it's not going to be able to carry them to, you know, like a President's Cup trophy.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. But Sean, who is your third place finisher?
I have the Pittsburgh Penguins. I think Pittsburgh is just, I mean, like, they're definitely on the decline. I just don't think they take as hard of a fall until the next year. I think Crosby and Malkin have, I mean, a little bit of juice left in the tank. Obviously, the goaltending situation is concerning, but I mean, that's like kind of the big thing that's concerning, right? Like, I mean, for the most part, they've it's not like they've lost, you know, crazy big pieces outside of Matt Murray. And so I don't know. I just think that they have it's like Tristan said, it's hard to bet against Crosby. They have the championship pedigree. They, for some reason, are always, you know, they're always still in the thick of it. And so I have them finishing third. And like Alex said, I mean, it's going to be incredibly close. I think even in between the top 4 teams, I think it's going to be incredibly close.
No, I completely agree. All right, now we can move into some exciting stuff. Second place. Sean, why don't you continue? Second place. Who is it for you?
And I promise you there's not bias involved here. I'll give my my reasoning next. I have the Philadelphia Flyers finishing second, so obviously that means the Capitals finish first. But I think the Philadelphia Flyers have I mean they showed a lot last year. Like, they were the hottest team in the National Hockey League last year before or, you know, going into the playoffs and then during the playoffs. Like, there's still questions as to whether or not they have everything put together, the roster, whether or not they make a couple of moves, but they didn't lose a lot of huge pieces. I really think that, again, Alex brought up a good point. Can you depend on Carter Hart?
Yeah.
To be that, you know, backbone of your back end, like, because he's going to have to stand on his head for a lot of the season in just terms of how many shots he's going to face. But I think the Flyers are the team on the rise the most in this division, because it's not. I mean, obviously you've had the Caps, you've had the Penguins. They've been the 1-2 punch in this division for almost a decade now. I think the Flyers are starting to inch their way up and being in the right trajectory, while the other two are on their way down. So I have the Flyers at the second spot in this division.
Tristan, what do you think? Second place.
For me, it's DC. So, you know, which obviously leaves Philly for my number 1 spot. But for DC, like, again, tricky goalie situation. Like, you know, Lundqvist is really great. You know, he's the king, but he's getting older, so we're gonna have to see how that kind of translates. And also, you know, he's going into a new spot, our new city, so which is always a little bit of a question mark for goalies and seeing how well they do. Like, are they going to be able to, copy and paste what they did in their previous hometown? But, regardless of that, they do have the defense, with John Carlson. They do have, his line mate, Brendan Dillon, who I'm very excited about. I think he's a very good, he's not really much of an offensive guy, but he can lay down the body when he needs
He's
to.
dirty.
And
He's dirty. He gets the dirty stuff done.
Exactly. Well, I don't want to say
he's not a dirty player. No, he's not a dirty player,
yeah.
but he's gritty. He gets the stuff that no one else wants to do.
Exactly. Which honestly, I feel like John Carlson is a little afraid of sometimes, but he scores the points, so I'm okay with that. Offensively, with that third line, I'm pretty confident Lars Eller will be able to do what he needs to do on that third line. Fourth line, a little iffy. It's the fourth line. What are you gonna do? But the first and second lines, I think they have them in the bag, but I don't think they are going to be able to outcompete the Philadelphia Flyers.
Mm-hmm.
And that is because I think, especially with Brian Elliott backing up Catahat, they're going to have a good goalie combination. Like, Brian Elliott, I think you guys aren't giving him enough credit. Like, he's still a decent goaltender. He's a decent backup. Like, he was able to beat the Caps at their fullest strength, during the regular season. And he's not going to, he's definitely not good enough to be a starter. But
he's not exactly a pushover.
Exactly. He's going to be able to give Catahat the break that he needs to, keep doing Catahat things. And then, like what Alex said, Giroux, just the ageless wonder, he's going to still be doing Giroux things. And then on the defense, Gostisberg, whatever, F him. Like, he hasn't done anything for the past few years. And
we're sorry, Philly fans.
Man.
We're sorry, Philly fans.
Hey,
I know you guys of all people don't care, but we're sorry.
They're probably with me. They're like, yeah, get him out of here.
Yeah.
And but they to replace him, they have Provorov. Like, he is a great player. And I think with the Philadelphia Flyers, they have all the pieces that they need to not only get the Metro win, but a much better push into the playoffs this season.
Okay, so I just have to ask a question. Since Tristan pretty much laid down his reason for his first and second. Do you want me to just go ahead and give the reason for my first?
Go ahead. Give the reason why.
Okay, so I think when you look at the Washington Capitals, the big question mark for this team is obviously how do you replace Braden Holtby? The problem is that some people are overlooking Braden Holtby wasn't good last year. Like, he really wasn't a great goalie last year. He had the worst numbers in his career, which, don't get me wrong, he's had a stellar career. But I definitely think that if you look at how Ilya Samsonov played in the limited action, don't get me wrong, the limited action that he provided last year, he had an insane save percentage. I want to say it was like over 930. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, he had a great save. Oh yeah, he had a great save percentage. He was undefeated for a very long time. And yeah, the midseason acquisition of Brandon Dillon ended up proving huge. The question on the defense is going to be, can they go without Michael Kempny for a long period of time? Because Kempny's going to be out after having surgery on a torn Achilles this past October. So he's going to be out between 4 and 6 months, which, depending on how long the season is, could be it's a very substantial amount of time regardless, but it could be a larger chunk of games they played than what would be in a normal 82-game season. So, defensively they're going to have to make up for that loss. However, they were able to sign Schultz from Pittsburgh, which I think was a pretty good signing. And you look at some of the other additions they have. TVR, I think, was good. You have, like Tristan said, Brandon Dillon, I think, was a good re-sign. They needed to try to get him back. And offensively, the big disappointing thing, and this is one reason why I think a lot of people are counting the Caps out a little bit earlier than perhaps a lot of people in the building expect, is because Evgeny Kuznetsov hasn't been Evgeny Kuznetsov of 2018 that we've expected to see since, right? Like, in 2018, Evgeny Kuznetsov kind of broke out onto the scene. And he was like, okay, wow, this is going to be that all-world center that the Capitals have been touting ever since they took him out of Russia. Well, he hasn't exactly lived up to par. Obviously, there was some off-the-ice stuff. He was kind of dabbling in some things that aren't exactly legal in the United States. But
Some booga sugar.
yeah, which is actually an insanely
Oregon.
big problem in the sport of hockey. Fun fact: they do not. They don't test for that. But regardless, I think that this offense has still enough weapons and firepower to carry this team to the top of the division. Again, Ovi's going to Ovi. Backstrom, as long as he's healthy, is going to still be able to be, the guy to be a facilitator for that top line or that second line, depending on how they stack him and Kuznetsov. TJ Oshie is still going to be the forward that he's been. He's been putting up pretty consistent numbers. Another guy that I think a lot of people are forgetting about is Jacob Vrana. His goal numbers have increased every single season he's been in the National Hockey League, and I think he can end up being a consistent 30-plus goal scorer in the NHL. And I don't know. I just think even with the depth of, like you said, Tristan Lars Eller, I would not be shocked to see that those bottom two lines finally start to contribute. Carl Hagelin's been kind of somebody that people have wanted to see a little bit more out of since his acquisition from Pittsburgh. But I do think that Washington still is going to pace this division. However, I will say this. I think this is their last season as being that top team in the division. I think next year it's going to start going like we all have. I'm assuming most of us agree Philadelphia's way, because we all agree that those are Pittsburgh and Washington are on the decline. I think this is Washington's last hurrah at the top of the division.
That's a interesting point you got there. But Alex, who is your number 2, and then ultimately your number 1?
So in number 2, I'm putting the Pittsburgh Penguins, leaving the Carolina Hurricanes at number 1. But with the Pittsburgh Penguins at number 2, I see this team is way too deep to sleep on. This team, you got Sidney Crosby, who's Sidney Crosby, one of the greatest players to ever lace him up. Evgeny Malkin, who's just, again, he's Evgeny Malkin. He's just going to do everything. He's going to go in the corners. He's going to win some puck battles, but also he's going to be that goal scorer that y'all need. And then this team makes these weird moves, getting like a Mark Jankowski, who we see from the Calgary Flames. He's like, 23, 24? This kid's still developing, and he's still pretty good. He's got the potential to be a second-line center. I think he's going to become a solidified
third
line center?
Probably. Third line, probably.
Yeah, I don't see him being a second-line center. But, you still have your players like Jason Zucker, Brian Rust. Evan Rodriguez, who was people sleep on Evan Rodriguez. I know I'm using that term a lot here, but, that's what you have with these players in Pittsburgh. You have these depth players that a lot of people sleep on and just turn out to be pretty good when it comes to point production. You also have like a Brandon Tanev and the prospect Teddy Bluger that's going to be coming up through the woodwork. This offense is way too deep, and it has way too much firepower to be anywhere less than number 2, in my opinion. And then even with the defense, I think the addition. Did they just get? No, they didn't just get Brian Dumoulin. He's been there for a while, but John Marino, he came up halfway through last season, and he's been one heck of a depth defenseman. Somebody they've desperately needed, because their defense has been relatively off lately. Hasn't been the greatest, but that is where their biggest hole is, in my opinion. With Chad Ruhwedel, who I am not big on, but he does show glimmer of hope as a good sixth defenseman at best, in my opinion. But you still have your Marcus Peterson, Chris Letang. Chris Letang's going nowhere. And as for Tristan Jarry, the only thing, he got MVP votes. None of these other goalies did. So.
He got MVP vote.
Yeah, votes.
No,
it's singular.
I know, but regardless, I think Tristan Jarry is going to be I'm not going to say very good, because that's I think that's saying a little too much, but I think he's going to be a pretty good number 1. He doesn't need to.
He got MVP votes.
Vote.
Vote. That's true. That's true. Very, very good clarification.
the head coach of Pittsburgh, his name's blanking on me, but they're going to throw him out there night after night and say, "Hey, just stop a couple pucks, and we'll just put up more than the other team," because the offense definitely has the ability to do that. So it's easy to have a half-ass goalie when your offense is this good, in my opinion. Definitely see them competing for number one, but when everything is said and done, I definitely see this team being a number 2 spot. So, but again, as I've said in my last team, 1, 2, and 3, they could all shift a lot through this season. So
1 through 4. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just, I mean,
Yeah.
even 1 through
1
4.
through 6, maybe.
Yeah,
1
I mean,
through
and
8. The Devils are coming. Oh no!
and I will 100% wait to talk about my number 1 because y'all are sleeping on the Hurricanes.
Go ahead. Talk about the Canes. Talk about the Canes, please. Talk about them.
Okay.
I really want to
so
hear the Peter Mrazek truther we got over here.
Yeah,
So
right?
the thing that I like about the Carolina Hurricanes is they are young, they are fast, and they haven't even started to hit the pinnacle and the top of their ability. We saw what they did last year. They made a great run in the playoffs. This team, just like the Penguins, are so deep in talent that it is so exciting to watch this team. The Svechnikov, Aho, and Teravainen line, in my opinion, it's one of the best first lines in hockey. It's so much fun to watch those three. Granted, they are not like the most physical line, so if you put your fourth line against them, you might have a bit of trouble in your own defensive zone, because this line isn't gritty. But the only guy really out there is Svechnikov, but you can debate that because he got one punch KO by Ovechkin. So, but you even have guys like Martin Necas, who are we going to see him in the trade deal with Marc-Andre Fleury? We've already said that before, but in my opinion, I don't see this team like absolutely having to reach for Marc-Andre Fleury, because Peter Mrazek, I'm not going to say I have all the faith in the world.
You
with
better
this guy,
not with that man.
But in his career, in his 8-year NHL career, this guy has not had one losing record season. In his career, he's 122 in 94. Can you ping that on the teams that he's had in front of him? Yeah, you absolutely could. But when it's all said and done, this guy has not had one season where he has had a losing record. He has had, let's see here, how many he has had. Last year he went 38-21, and the year before that in Carolina he went 40-23. We're seeing back-to-back seasons where he does look like a starting goaltender. I don't think that the Carolina Hurricanes need to worry as much as we're saying they should when it comes to goaltender. Now, if they have the opportunity to get Marc-Andre Fleury for a little less than what we think, they should jump on that right away. But when it's all said and done, I do not think that this team is going to be getting Marc-Andre Fleury for this season. I think that they are going to ride Peter Mrazek for this season. They're going to throw James Reimer in there every now and then. But what I said with Katahat is the whole playing him back-to-back games. Peter Mrazek has that experience in the NHL. He knows the ins and outs of the league. So you can absolutely play this guy back-to-back games, I feel like. Now, you're not going to do that through the entire season. We have yet to see how the schedule and the season is going to look like. But Peter Mrazek, I think, is going to be more reliable in those back-to-back situational type of games than a Katahat is. I feel like I have to say that like that for the rest of the
Every
podcast.
time.
I don't know why. But Peter Mrazek is just... I think he is a solid goalie when you have the defense and the offense in front of you. I think this is going to be a surprising team. Do I think that they are going to battle for the President's Trophy? No. Do I think that they are going to be the first place team in the Metro? Absolutely. I don't think they're going to run away with it, but I think they are 100% going to win this division.
Well,
I think this is going to be the shock of the season, I think. I think the Carolina Hurricanes are going to shock the NHL this year, and they're going to be the number 1 seed.
I think I'm going to save my shock on the season for other divisions, but I will
Is it the Chicago
conclude.
Blackhawks at number one?
It's the Blackhawks wing it all and getting every
Blackhawks
trophy.
win the Metro.
But exactly.
Oh my gosh.
But as I will conclude our predictions, in second place I have the Philadelphia Flyers, which would inevitably leave the Washington Capitals to
Yeah, Tommy!
to take home the Metropolitan Division. So first, I'll quickly start with the Flyers. The Flyers didn't really change all that much. The biggest name they really lost, this season was Matt Niskanen, and I mean he retired. Other than that, I mean they filled his role pretty handily. They signed Eric Gustafsson, and then they re-signed Brian Elliott. The biggest factors for them are, can they stay healthy? The team, it's one of the biggest up-and-coming teams. I wouldn't even say up-and-coming. They've pretty much established themselves. They're one of the hottest teams in the NHL, as we've seen. But injuries can really sideline some players for a long time and really kill runs. So if they can stay away from that, that would be probably one of the biggest things. The second thing that I have down for them is defense. With Kata Hot as your goaltender, you really don't have to worry too much about your goaltender fumbling with the puck or letting easy goals in, because he's just not going to do that. So with this, can their defense really be in front and play well in front of Carter Hart? Kata Hot, pardon me.
Yeah,
Kata Hot. But Eric Gustafsson was, I thought, a great signing by the Flyers. He is better than Matt Niskanen, and they have Philip. What's his name? Philip Myers paired with Ivan Provorov, and then they have the bottom line is Hogg, and I forget who the other guy is, but their defense looks good. This is a really solid team. But going up to first place, the Washington Capitals, and I completely agree with Sean. I was thinking about this when I was writing with them. I almost didn't write them down as the first place. I almost had Philadelphia in there, but I changed it. I think this is the last season for the Washington Capitals to be atop the Metropolitan Division. They made some very good acquisitions this offseason. Signing Lundqvist, getting Trevor Van Riemsdyk, and then Justin Schultz, I believe.
Yes.
Am I wrong? Yes. Okay. Yeah. So, and then their biggest losses were really, clearly Holtby was the biggest loss, but the other one is just Ilya Kovalchuk. Like that's not
which
even.
is like.
Yeah, exactly. It's not even that's what I'm saying. Is like if that's your biggest loss, that's what I'm saying. Like that's a good thing. The offense is. You have arguably the best defenseman in the league with John Carlson. Kuzi, even though Kuzi hasn't done 2018 Kuzi things, he's still putting up great point totals. Ovi is going to be doing his thing. Backstrom is always going to be doing his thing. The things that I have written down for them are I have Samsonov, and I actually circled this with a little highlighter thing. He's done well. He has done well, and this goes for Shesterkin too, because I already know Sean's going to come to the defense of Samsonov. But can Samsonov continue that dominant play?
Yeah.
And it with the backup being Henrik Lundqvist. I think Lundqvist is going to have a better season with the Caps this season than he did with the Rangers last season. It has to do with the defense. The defense was just atrocious in New York, and the defense for the Caps is not atrocious. So clearly that's going to help. But if you have to rely on him more than you really need to because Samsonov is not playing well, that is where troubles can really start. Given I don't think Samsonov is going to hit those troubles, which is why I have them in first place. The only other thing that I could really think of that could really hurt this team is age. Is this the season where we see age really kick in for Ovi or for Backstrom, or can Lundqvist really tank and really start to stop saving pucks at a ridiculous rate? Is this the season that we see that? If this is, then they will not be in first place. But I don't think. Ovechkin, I think, is going to be doing what he's doing until the day he dies, to be honest. Backstrom, the guy's gonna put up nutty point totals again. But it's always an option. But I have the Washington Capitals winning for one last time The Metropolitan Division. And this concludes our Metropolitan Division predictions. I would say, agreed on damn near half of the entire division.
Oh yeah, the entire bottom half was in agreement.
Yes, but it got
once
pretty...
we got to the fourth.
Yeah, it got pretty interesting. As soon as we started getting into that wild card spot and then the top three, it got really interesting. But I'm glad the boys are all back and we can all talk hockey together. This was fun. I'm really happy that we were able to do this.
And kinda hot.
Yes, and of course, I again have to reiterate, there's an asterisk next to this. We'll revisit this once they completely realign the divisions, and I don't know
None
if
of these will
just
matter.
Exactly. It just won't matter.
Except the Devils. Except the Devils.
That is true. That is absolutely true. The Devils will in fact finish.
But we'll have an interesting conversation if the Devils move to the Atlantic and they'll have to play the Detroit Red Wings. If that's the case, then we'll have an interesting conversation.
TV.
Exactly. But
a Wednesday night rivalry game.
But with that said, I have to say this was fun. We'll be hitting up the Atlantic Division next week. That is our next goal, which is another interesting division once they start realigning teams.
I can't wait for the Central.
Spoiler alert: the Red Wings still suck. So
I thought you were about to say they won the division, but I'd like to thank you guys for listening, either on the live stream or on YouTube. I had a lot of fun, guys. I can't wait to talk about the Atlantic Division next week. And
same.
With that said, let's play chill, boys. Thank you all for listening. Have a good night.